extra pressure on girls to have the perfect body?
Only girls?
Only girls?
Just girls. We're only talking about girls. If you have an argument for something else, you get to present it, but this is only about girls. Or young ladies or women.
Wait, are you saying like there's only extra pressure on girls, no, not men at all? Or
Is
we're
there,
just
ex-
talking?
is there extra pressure on girls to have the perfect body? I don't want you to say.
So we can't bring up
This
like,
is
oh,
no.
men have it too, essentially.
You can,
This
you
is
can,
no.
but that's not the question. So,
So then it has no bearing.
The word only is
That's what we gotta know.
is there extra pressure on girls to have the perfect body? Alright, so this is my line of demarcation, right? So we're saying no over here and yes over here. Am I got that right? Alright, so the no's are in the minority, so they go first, alright? What say you? Let me set this up real quick. 14. Can you guys see that good? Yeah, we can see it good. Alright, so what you got? The no's. No, there's not. What are you thinking?
I feel like in today's day and age, there's been a lot of body positivity on women's behalf and not more on men's behalf. And honestly, I say that because I'm the only girl in my family. Like, I have 3 younger brothers, and I know like what they've been through and like how they view their bodies. And all of my brothers at some point were like really chubby. Like, I've always had like a chubby little brother. So I know that they've always wanted to change their bodies, and like my brother now, he's 16 and he's like tall and buff, but like when we were like younger, he was the chubby one and he always like felt some type of way about his body. And I feel like we just don't really look at guys in that way. Like, it's normal for us to be like, yeah, like I don't think there's extra pressure on girls. I think there's about the same amount of pressure.
Okay. You got your hand up, go ahead.
I don't necessarily think that there's extra pressure on girls. I feel kind of like what she was saying, where it is, there's so many spaces and conversations open about women's positivity and their bodies and different body types. And I remember like growing up, and even like I'll be like scrolling through social media, and it's just like, you know, constant spaces of body positivity, and it's not very normal for you to look at a girl and verbally be like, oh, she's way too big, or she's way too small. Or I feel like if you say that out loud in society, it's very, very frowned upon. But I feel like for men, there's a really big standard, at least these past couple years, I feel like, at least in my generation, for them to be tall and buff and muscular and go to the gym. And I feel like there's the same amount of pressure to like look good and be fit and have this perfect body. And I don't necessarily feel like there's extra pressure on girls. I just feel like it's talked about more.
Talked about more, okay. So let's see. Why is that? Why do we talk more about the girls than the boys?
Because I feel like those conversations are always way more, those vulnerable conversations are always way more talked about in women's spaces and for women, and it, you know, has always been and is a huge problem for men's mental health in those situations where they can't talk about those things. Especially like, I have a brother, and I know like he feels like he can't talk about those things. So you have to be, and I'm not saying that women don't have to be strong and help hold it together, because I feel like those are standards for women, but you can't kind of deny the fact that there's a lot.
Toxic masculinity. It's like the mindset.
There's just a lot less stigma about a woman being vulnerable than a man.
That stems from our last conversation, kind of, sort of, because we talked about the girls' vulnerability before we even talked about the boy vulnerability. I mean, we brought the boy in saying that we had to protect all children, but we led with girls, right? Because there's this need, I guess, to maybe protect them.
Well, that's like, as a Christian man, like you are stronger than the woman. The woman's supposed to nurture, you're supposed to protect. So that's like what I believe in, and of course you're more vulnerable. Like as a man, you're supposed to be strong mentally and physically. So that's where you uphold your woman. But on the fact that extra pressure, that means that there's not as much on the other sex, right? So that's why I'm like, no, because as they both said, there's standards. Growing up as a fat kid, I was the same weight now that was in 5th grade. I was like an outcast, I hated it. And, I went through, I still like can't stand looking in the mirror. Like just as a man, it's just what it is. And I feel like you can say that for anybody though. It's just what you deal with is what you deal with. It's just how you deal with it. There's no extra, because just like how a woman needs to have this perfect shape and a man needs to have it too, there's just standards that everybody holds.
So I think I hear both of you saying that the pressure is the same, it's manifested differently. And it comes out different with girls, like it might come out more with girls. Boys are feeling the same pressure, they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, which I think makes it seem like there's extra pressure because
It's talked
talked about so much more.
Okay.
Not necessarily that there isn't the pressure on the other side, it's just a conversation, so it's a lot more normal. So when you think about it at first, you're like, oh,
Okay.
definitely have extra, but when kind of break it down, is there really extra, or is it just something that is just talked about more?
Yeah, like as a man, you're not supposed to talk about your feelings. You're not supposed to talk about how you feel, or like as like the standard is how it's been for thousands of years now. I know recently, like, oh, talk about your problems. That's just how it is. You're not supposed to. And I mean, I think like going to therapy and stuff is good, but as a man, you still need to uphold yourself and be strong. So it's not talked about as much. A guy's not gonna go in the mirror in front of his friends and be like, oh, I'm fat. There's like a girl. I hear girls all the time, they're like, oh, I'm so fat. I'm like, dude, come on. I can't do that,
You can't do that. Okay, all right. Anything else for the no side? All right, let's move it over here. You had your hand up for a while. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, cause one point that she said where she was like, you're not gonna look at a girl and say out loud like, oh, she's really fat. You're not gonna look at anybody or say that. But I feel like it's more so, like, yes, people aren't very vocal about it, but it's more so like in the media, there's a lot more pressure for girls to have the perfect body. Like, if you are looking at a post and it's just, let's say there's a post with a girl who is overweight and there's a post with a guy who's overweight, and they're two separate videos or pictures or whatever, and both of them have nothing to do with the way the person looks. I feel like in general there would be more comments on the girl's post saying that she needs to lose weight or whatever than there would be on the guys, because people see guys as more than I feel like in general people not saying entirely that people value guys more than just their appearance, but I just feel like it's very like, it's not upfront,
Okay, so you said a lot. I want to make sure I capture all of it. So media causes this pressure.
Yes.
All right. That
I'll
was
say-
basically the gist of it.
That's 100% your algorithm though too. That's what the algorithm's gonna push towards you, is more woman-based stuff. And I'm gonna see more men-based stuff. That's what it is. I'm gonna see a fat guy getting made fun of in Instagram comments. That's what it is. It's the same way for a woman too.
All right.
It goes back and forth with that.
Okay, so you, and then you. And just keep talking. I'm gonna keep typing.
It's
okay?
not just the algorithm though, like actors or just in advertisements for clothes, we see skinny women. I'm trying to remember like examples of like Zendaya, she's really skinny, and she's beautiful, and she's been put up as like so beautiful. So like most models and ads that we usually see and that everyone sees from a woman is like she's skinny, and that is like that is what has been established as beauty. Another thing is women's appearance has always been a basis for their attractiveness and their value. And like how a woman looks has always been like a factor in like their likeness and who likes them. But yeah, I think there is more pressure on girls to have a perfect body. Growing up, my mom, she would like dictate what I would eat sometimes and say that I needed to lose weight. And that I think is just like a generational thing because through generations, like women have always put pressure on themselves to have a perfect body because that's where they are valued, is their body, because of pregnancy and like the things like boobs were in and now it's like butts, like everybody wants to have a big butt. So it's like you know, like women's body are always like dictated by society.
Okay.
So that's where the pressure is
I'm
from.
gonna go in order and then.
Oh, I wanted to argue her point, but
Yeah,
Because, like-
we put it up here. We put it up here. So I want to make sure I get all the yeses out, and then we're gonna argue. Just let it stew for a little
I
bit.
have it. I have it. She's gonna leave.
I know.
It's gonna
I'm
leave.
still thinking about what I was
Write it
gonna
down.
say.
Go ahead.
To add on to the idea of like algorithm and stuff that, and to add to what Liv said, that it's not true because you'll see in stuff like Hollywood with people having more, with women having more idealistic bodies of what people want and what they want to be, because that's what the industry does. They try and find people to say, this is what you want to be, this is what you want. And even then, I myself, I do acting a lot around town, and I've seen a lot more like discrimination towards women who are like at least bigger, not having like this skinny mindset, this really built body, whereas me, I'm not like a big muscular guy, I'm not skinny really. I've had far less discrimination towards it than myself. I've had more opportunities to do things because I have less standards on me, whereas I've had friends who are not like this perfect skinny ideal set that people are looking for, and they've lost many opportunities just because they are in that. They've been told that they're too big or they can't do a certain dance or play a certain role because they don't fit the idea of what is beauty and ideal set, and it's unfortunately a real thing that happens.
I think you were next, and then Tabitha.
Me?
Yeah, you next.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of what she was saying about like the media.
This one?
A guy I really thought about, a rapper, Big X the Plug. I don't know if you guys know who that is. He's like a big guy. He's like always has like his shirt off, and like that's his brand. But like say like a big girl comes up, and she becomes famous. Like they're gonna tell her like, oh, you need to lose weight. Like, and she's gonna feel that pressure to lose weight, and she has lost weight. Yeah.
Lizzo is currently losing weight.
I thought about that when she said that.
Okay, so then the media causes pressure, and so in that space, in the media space, women.
I got something to say on everything.
Alright, so in that space, women, men can do things with their bodies that women can't do, and it's acceptable. Is that what I hear you saying? All right, so. All right, Tabitha, you're next.
Alright, so if you look at like marketing and a lot of products, there's so many products marketed towards changing how a woman looks. Like this will make you skinnier, this will make your boobs bigger, this will make your ass bigger, this will make your waist smaller, this will make your face prettier. There's so many products marketed towards changing how a woman looks. And personally, myself and all of my friends, we all have stories about a man coming up to us and telling us that we would look prettier, we would look more desirable if something about us was different. Saying that part of our body is flawed, and that if it wasn't flawed, we'd be like so much more attractive, which is incredibly devaluing.
Did you punch this person?
I wish.
Okay, just wondering. No, I don't condone violence. I don't condone violence. All right. Okay, you were achieving.
You go first, because you're the girl, so you go first.
Okay, I have a lot to say actually.
Okay, and
Okay,
we're on the
hold
no
on.
side, right? You're
It's
still
the
on the no.
ADHD.
Okay, all right, come on,
I
let's do
gotta
it.
like reconnect to it all. But okay, first of all, the perfect body. What is the perfect body? Like people are saying like, oh, people have this ideal thing in their head that like this is what a body is supposed to look like. That's to you. Because my whole life I've been like this big. My whole family you need to eat more, you're so little, you need to eat, you need to eat, you need to eat. Zendaya body shamed because of how skinny she was. Are we not gonna talk about that? Zendaya was always talking like, and then another thing, the media with the guys and stuff, Rod Wave. Everybody's always talking about how Rod Wave needs to lose weight, how Rod Wave is too big. Like, we're not gonna talk about that. And then, Tusi. Everybody's like, oh, Tusi would be so much cuter if he was taller. Tusi would be so fine if he was 6 foot. He's still cute. And what, he's 5'8"? Like, and I'm gonna stick beside that. Me personally, I think Tusi is a really fine man. But everybody's like, Bruno Mars. Everybody was short shaming Bruno Mars. Oh my gosh, Bruno Mars looks so little. Kevin Hart. Oh my gosh, Kevin Hart is so little. Look at him next to The Rock.
But do those guys tend to make, like, cause her argument was that that's his brand. He's allowed to be able to do that. So that flaw, he's allowed to capitalize on it. What flaw do women capitalize on?
Do you think that maybe though it's just because it's become normal for men to be able to capitalize off of those things, but not necessarily that it's a conversation of if they want to capitalize on those things? Like, I know that I was thinking about when they were talking about Hollywood, I was thinking about a lot of actors that, especially men who are like bigger and maybe don't look like hot in Hollywood's eyes, are forced into these roles of being the Joker or the weird kid, or so it's like, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that it's right or anything like that, or maybe that they have an advantage, or that they don't have an advantage, but I can't help but think about if they want to be put into those roles, or if it's something that, you know, society just allows them to do, but it's not necessarily maybe that they don't still feel the pressure, because let's be honest, you're not seeing, you guys know who Zach Galifianakis is? You're not seeing him in a Calvin Klein modeling on a billboard. Like, you know what I mean? So you also have to think about that when you're saying, like, you're seeing all these models and all these women. I think that when it comes to marketing somebody in the media, you always want to make them look the best that they can, whether it's men or women. I think that that's both a thing, and also the thing about, you know, you going out and guys telling you like, oh, you would be pretty if you did this. The amount of times that I'm sitting in a group of girls and there's a guy who's interested in her, and kind of like you're saying, like, he's too short.
Yes.
And I've been at fault of that. Oh, he's too short. He's not built enough.
Yeah.
Like, he's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like his hair, or you know, like, you can do that to anyone, and I feel like it is, but it's so much more normalized. And it goes back to the thing of like what we allow. It's so much more normalized for a girl to go, you're too short, and then
Yes.
move on with life, and nothing is said.
And I feel like that goes back to like the perfect body type of thing, because like this whole time we've literally been talking about skinny versus fat. That's what we've been talking about. But like men are always like, I can't date that guy because he's not 6'5".
I'm gonna be.
I can't. Yeah, it's like I can't be like
I
my
got
boyfriend.
another few things.
I'm like 5'6.5". My boyfriend is only 5'8", and I'm gonna stick beside him because he's fine. Like, I'm not gonna body shame him and be like, oh no, I don't want to be with him because he's not 6'5". Like, something that I've talked to guys that were 6'8", and they did nothing. Like, you just look big over there for no reason. So it's like, I understand, like, I feel like we're not seeing bodies in the way that we want to, like, we're not thinking about the question in like all the way. Like, I feel like when we hear body and we hear girls, yeah, we have like this idea of like what a perfect body is, but then it's like, well, what's your perfect body? Because I want to have abs, me personally, but then it's like, well, I want to have a big butt, well, I want to have big titties, but I want to like be curvy, well, I want to be straight, like, you know, like, I feel like to every woman a perfect body is different. And I think because perfect bodies are so different in everybody's head, women are just more like, I want to look like this, and this is my perfect body. And they're able to talk about it a little bit more than guys are.
All right, it's your time to start.
Alright, scroll, I gotta see all the
All right, here we go.
Alright, advertisers, so,
He's about to clock it, I just want to
well, you're like, oh, well, women need to have this certain standard of blah, 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 so they can be models. Modeling is modeling across the board for men and women. It is statistically harder to be a male model than it is a woman model. You have to be a certain height, like the height, like it's not just, oh, big, like you have to be slim, you have to be lengthy, arm length,
Little
leg
waist.
length, you have to be tall. Like it's not just women need to be skinny in modeling, it's men as well. You're hardwired naturally to like men that have vascularity, to like men that are taller, to like men that are more built, because that's what you're hardwired as an animal to enjoy more, because that's what, okay, he's gonna bring me food tomorrow. You know what I mean? That's what you're hardwired to think. So,
Wow.
but if you
Okay.
look at a
Tabitha, you're next.
like it's just, I don't know, boom.
Wait,
Women
wait,
put
wait,
the
wait,
pressure
wait.
on, okay, yeah,
Okay,
there's
alright.
like there's modeling standards across the board. If you go to Hollywood and like you're a big dude, it's hard to pass as that. Like normally big dudes that are big dudes in Hollywood, they are known because they're a big dude.
Exactly.
And if you say, oh well, Lizzo, blah blah blah, but Big X the plug,
What?
Lizzo, her image is her body. She puts that out there herself. Big X the plug doesn't talk about, oh yeah, I'm fat, so I'm cool. He does call himself things, I'm not gonna repeat them, but Lizzo's idea is she's gonna post up in something that just covers her body parts and show her skin. That's the image that she's creating of herself. So yes, people are gonna look at her for what she's creating, but for like, okay, but then you know, Rod Wave doesn't talk about his body image, so it's different. Women put the pressure on themselves. Men do as well, but they just don't talk about it. So that goes back into the same thing as men just can't talk about it. And then they're not thin. It's the same thing for men. If I was 400 pounds, a woman would not talk to me in this classroom. That's just what it is. It's just, it
If
goes
she
out.
liked 400-pound guys, she would.
That's the
If
perfect
she,
body term.
okay,
Then that's
if
the
she ain't
perfect
280,
body
she ain't a lady. So
Nice.
it's just, it goes. It's all about what people enjoy.
That's definitely going on my TikTok. Going on my TikTok.
So,
My student said. All right.
and then you said men can do things with their. What can men do that women can't?
She's saying that men can do things with their bodies that women can't. So men can do all of those things, like
A woman
talk
can
about
get a BBL. A woman can get plastic surgery. It's just fine for a woman to do that. But I want my penis to be bigger, and I said, oh well, somebody's got some issues. And then, oh well, oh take this so like for a girl, it'll be like, oh take this so you can cleanse your gut. Well, for a man, it's like take this boner pill so your penis. It's the same thing.
Okay.
And then like oh well, men like a woman's gonna get some shapewear, right? A man's gonna be advertised, get this hand strengthener clutching thing and use it 3 hours a day, or women won't like you.
Like when
Or
they
get
did
this
that whole
push-up
jaw
board.
thing.
That's definitely
Or-
my
They had
son.
all those jaw things on
Yeah, or-
TikTok
yeah,
to buy
like-
off of TikTok
Oh my
shop.
I mean-
God, that is
And
my
it was
child. That
It
is
was
my
literally
child.
like thrown at men, like, ooh, do this because
Yeah,
then women
you.
will like you. Or like
Looks
a
match,
lot
all
of
that
like
stuff.
people get like V-line stuff to like make their V-line pop out.
Okay.
Yes. And I feel like
I might get one of those.
you see, like
There's
No,
a
my son
standard
does
for
those
men
things. He
and
does
women.
that because he's like, Mom, I gotta look strong. I'm like, let me just
Exactly.
be strong, and
Like,
then you'll look strong.
literally all of my brothers have went through that secret working out in their room era because they want their body to look better.
Okay.
And
And-
steroids, like that's also a
Yeah,
big
that's
thing.
heavily pushed.
I know
towards
in high
men.
school I knew so many guys like when they started going to the gym and everything. There's so many people that were secretly taking steroids or you
It's
know
on the wrong side.
would take things so that they can get big really fast and get muscular. I
Thank
think I think that I can agree that girls have more things about their body that they could change. I think that that is very true. I think, and I don't know if that's a conversation of women pointing these things out to themselves as well, because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So I can agree that there is more stuff that I feel like women can do to their bodies without they're picking apart and but I don't think that that takes away from the pressure that men still feel that they have to change their bodies.
So men can still feel that pressure. Okay, we got one
Well,
more, and then
I
I
just
got.
want to say also with like products and stuff, like oh well, there's all these products for women to do blah blah blah. Women are just naturally more prone to buying more products. I know you all have Amazon carts and all these clothing brands and stuff that are slap full. I don't remember the last time I bought something online. Like it's what the media pushes towards you because you're more prone to buy said products.
I feel like that's also a generational thing. Like
But
me
it's-
personally, me going out having fun when I was younger was me going to the mall with my grandma. So it's like, if you kind of want to shop all the time, you know, you're gonna want to buy more products.
Okay. All right. All right. So I think there was two more. Tabitha was first, and then you, and then we're gonna round this one out. I want to do one more before we leave, but this one was really hot for you guys. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna start this one off by saying, you said that when you were younger, you know, you were pushed to like eat more, to like gain more weight. That's still body shaming. That's still, you know, unrealistic expectations for women.
But that also
And then-
goes on the perfect body. Like to me, I liked my body. I thought I looked
But-
good
But people were still commenting that they were unsatisfied with the way that you looked.
because
That's
everybody
still
has a different
expectations.
body in their head.
That's
You know what I
still
mean?
expectations
So let me
that
ask
they
you a
put on.
question.
And when I was in high school,
Nyla.
my football coach called me a skinny little boy instead of
Exactly.
like it's just.
So it's like it's still expectations
Yeah.
on girls and on guys.
So Nyla, you said that your family. I'm just trying to ask a question here. You said that your family told you that you needed to eat more. Did they do the same thing for the boys that were chubby?
Yes.
Okay, they said.
So like when the guys were chubby, they would be like, "Oh, maybe you need it." Like my mom would literally be like, "Oh, maybe you need to cut it out," because like we would go spend the. I'm from Jersey. We would go spend the summer with my grandparents in Jersey, and like my brother would eat whatever he wanted, and like we would come back, and my mom would be like, like no, you have to stop. Like you cannot be eating all that because you cannot be that big.
Okay.
My brother went to the doctor one time, and they were like, "You're obese," and he was like, and so he had to stop. Like that's just what it is.
All right. So Tabitha, and then you. She wasn't done with her point. So.
And so the thing that you said about being hardwired to be more attracted to muscular men, that's not true. If you look at other cultures around the world, there are cultures where it is considered desirable, it is considered beautiful to be bigger, to be fat.
Robust.
I've studied cultures like that.
It's per culture, but I'm talking about a animal-based state. Like nothing about societal culture. I'm talking about a genetic stage. Like you are more prone to be attracted to these things.
So what about these cultures?
It has nothing to do with culture.
Well, then what about the cultures?
everything to do
What
with
about the both sides of the cultures? You know.
Right, there's
Like,
there's
I don't
what goes
think-
around comes around as well.
The
Yin
whole
yang,
point
so
is
that's-
like that.
that's what we're
It's
trying to
not
prove.
extra pressure on women. It's that there's an equal pressure on both genders.
And I also want to bring up the Lizzo point that you made. You saying that her whole thing is her body. What about when Katy Perry goes up there in a bikini? What about when like Beyonce wears something revealing? Her entire thing isn't her body because she's not a bigger person. Lizzo is being shamed for being a bigger person, which makes that her whole identity because it's brought up so much by her fans, by so many people that look at her. That's the only thing they talk about is her body. They don't really talk about her music as much. It's just her body.
If
But
I walk-
Lizzo
if I
also
came to
goes
school-
online and talks about body positivity so much that it's like
Because she's grown up as a fat woman who is shamed for being fat.
exactly.
So
and she
if
learned
I
to
went to
love
school
herself,
with a
and
crop
she
top
shows off her
and
body now.
little shorts, that's me showing my skin. Now, like when you're a star, you can choose what you want to wear. So when you're wearing less clothing to show off more of your body, you're doing that on purpose to show more of your body, and that's the image you are creating. The image I want to create is based off of what I wear. That's why I wear the clothes I want to wear. That's the whole idea of clothing, is to cover your body however you want and show off what you want to wear. And that's the same thing if I were to just wear a bikini, then that's like, okay, everybody look, because I'm not covering anything.
What about Katy Perry? What about Beyonce? What about Taylor Swift? Their whole marketing isn't their bodies. Their whole
They're
identity isn't
showing
their
off
bodies.
still. It's nothing about just their image as
Yeah,
well.
but they
It's-
also don't go on TikTok and be like, oh, like I'm promoting this because my body looks like this and I want it to look like that. Like Lizzo does that. Lizzo goes online and Lizzo spreads body positivity. Like that was a whole thing.
yeah, that's what she
Because
pushes.
for her whole life she has been shamed for the way that she looks.
But
Do
she
you also
still does
think that
it.
maybe like you know, going back to the conversation of it's not necessarily that they have extra, but more that it's just normalized for women to talk about their bodies. Like, you can't necessarily say that there's not famous men and celebrities out there who feel uncomfortable with their body or want to have a space where they can talk about their body and change. But, you know, Lizzo has the opportunity where she gets to spread body positivity and, you know, shine light on those things. So I don't think it's necessarily that, you know, women don't go through those things, but that doesn't happen. I think that it's more that light is shined on those experiences that women have and not necessarily on men. So that's why it can feel like extra. I don't think that it's necessarily that there isn't an equal amount on both sides.
Well, I think that the reason why women talk about it more is because there has been more pressure on women. And that's the reason why it needs to be talked about more and why it has been talked about
Yeah,
more.
like the whole
I'm not
body
saying-
body positivity movement was in response to
Like,
the
I'm not
high
saying,
pressure on women.
yeah, I'm not saying that men don't experience these things. There is definitely societal pressure on men to look a certain way. But the reason why for women it's become such a more prominent thing is because that we are under these like insane standards, which is why it's been talked
But
about
what
more.
are these standards? That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Because
I feel
I
like-
could look at somebody's body and not like the way that their body looks, and then you can look at somebody's body and say that it's the perfect body.
The
Well, doesn't
majority,
mean there
I
isn't a
feel like
general standard, though.
There's a,
There
That's
is-
what-
There
that's
is
what
a
I'm saying,
standard
like-
that holds up on both
There's
ends.
a
If you just
majority,
look at
yeah,
modeling as a whole, there is a standard for skinny, taller people
exactly.
on both
Yeah,
ends.
like you're not gonna
There's a
you're not gonna hire a
standard for
4'11"
both.
model.
Yeah,
Like
It's
you're not
even.
hiring a 4'11" woman,
it's
even
not-
if she is this big. Like she can be super skinny
But there's
and
more of a
4'11",
standard
and she's
on
not
women.
gonna be able to model.
there's more of a standard on
She's been
women.
so patient.
Everywhere in the
Yeah, she's been patient, right?
Yeah, she's been
There's
patient.
more of a standard on women, and the fact that you guys are saying that it's normalized for a woman to talk about her body or for products to be garnered towards women shows like a societal pressure, a normalized societal pressure on women. And going back to Lizzo, she's losing weight. She's losing weight now because like people like ridiculed her. She got shamed for her body. People like Doja Cat, she was like a little bit like curvier, and then she lost weight. And people like Ice Spice, she's working out, she's losing weight.
I
Billie
went and
Eilish.
worked out and lost weight after middle school, and people would flick my nipples every day because they stuck out of my shirt.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm
I'm
saying.
serious.
Like
I
you're
hate it.
saying,
I hate
you're
it.
saying,
I'm not
If you
saying
get-
that there's
if-
like there's no
There's a-
you're
standard
saying like
for
Ice
men.
Spice is losing weight, but it's like
I'm not saying that there's no
on
standard
some
for
people,
men.
some people are like, oh, Ice Spice looks really good now that she's losing weight, and then other people are like, she does not look good because she's losing weight. There's a perfect body image in everybody's head,
Yeah.
but it's all different
And
images.
and people like piggybacking off of that, people are like, she's losing her butt, and that's like her main thing, and people are like saying
Because
that
that's
she's
her
ugly
image. That's what
now.
she talks about.
That
yeah,
is
She
so
what
talks
she
about
that's
talks
the
how I got
pressure
that
on
image.
her body not being like a standard.
She
But I feel like,
created
yeah,
that image.
that's-
That's what her image holds.
why did she create that image?
because
With
that's
her music,
what she
that's
wanted.
what she talks about.
Yeah,
That's what she
talks
shows
about
off
her
when she
butt
goes
all
on
the
stage.
time. She literally shows her
No,
butt
it's
all
not.
the time.
That's
in
her
music
image.
videos.
That's
Like
how
that's
Ice
what
Spice
she
created herself. Is
chooses
that
to
she's
do.
got this butt. That's literally what it is.
She created that image because it sells, because it's a desirable
Yeah.
Yeah,
standard.
it's not.
That's with anything.
Because she had a big butt.
Chris
she got
Hemsworth is
popular.
Thor because he's a big, strong,
I know.
blonde man. That's his
Exactly.
image. Chris Hemsworth.
Like
I mean,
What do
Hugh
you think?
Jackman.
Okay.
Like all these
Exactly.
actors are them because they make these images of themselves. That's what it is.
Okay. All right. Okay. I have one more that I want to do. I'm kind of scared to do it. Thank y'all. That was pretty good.